No matter if we open our favorite social media app, if we're watching reality TV or just a YouTube vlog, we're confronted with what normal life looks like all the time. But is this really reality what we see? And I would say for some people it is, yes, but not for the majority of us. And I think that's nothing to feel bad about. And let's dive into why comparing maybe is not the best idea. Hello, and welcome to 1 Week at a Time, where we discover topics like living mindfully in your day-to-day life and unapologetically becoming your true, authentic self. I am Vanessa, your host, and today let's talk about why normal lives have nothing to do with what we see on our big or small screens, and why that's actually good, and how we can reconnect and realize that if we let it sink in too much, that we lose our own happiness and our own beauty in our actual lives. And yeah, not to fall into these comparison traps any longer. So let's start with the first one, the typical 5 a.m. or what time in the morning routine. I mean, the idea is really nice. You wake up and you're done and productive and you have everything achieved already before everybody else even wakes up. Yep, sounds nice. And it sometimes sounds too good to be true, right? And I've tried it myself. It is possible, but there is a but. The question to ask, like, is this really necessary for you? For you in your situation, in your life, in where you stand at right now? Is this really helpful, or is this just something that we see and we think we have to do this as well to be successful? And I've seen a lot of morning routines on social media, and they're all very interesting. Some stick like to the regular 5 a.m. morning routine from the book 5 a.m. Club. And some get really interesting with ice water and stuff like that, some special exercises and everything. And they make sense to the person that's filming it. There's some entrepreneurs, there's some sports person, there's so many people out there that film their morning routines. And every step they have in there has a reason to be in there because it fulfills something that they need in their day-to-day life. So it's not the best idea to just copy them blindly and think like, yeah, well, if this person does that, I should do that as well because this person is an entrepreneur and I want to be an entrepreneur myself. That's not maybe the best idea because you might be standing in completely different levels of entrepreneurship. So what this person does at level 35 might not work for you at level 2. Let's just face it. And I've already talked about my personal morning routine that I do, and I share it with you in another video. I will link it in the show notes for you so you can rewatch it. It's about more in this video, but this is what I do. And I've tried the 5 a.m. morning routine exactly like it's written in the 5 a.m. Club book. And I did it for a while and I noted it's not for me. It doesn't give me anything. And I think the windows of time, the blocks of time that are in there doesn't work for me. They don't work for me the way they are doing for the person in the book, for example. Yes, I see the point. And yes, I do all of these pillars, let's say, in my day as well, but on different points of the day where they make sense for me and my day-to-day life. And I think the main question should be, what do you do with your waking hours? No matter if you get up at 5 a.m., at 6 a.m., at 8 a.m., it is the hours of the day that matters that you are awake, not the hour of the day that you wake up. If you feel drained and unproductive throughout the whole day, you might as well have slept a little longer and not get up at 5 a.m. because everyone else is doing this. And that's the point. So many people forget at this 5 a.m. morning club thing that they have to go to bed earlier as well. It's not that you just set your alarm at 5 and you still go to bed at 11 p.m. or maybe 12 p.m. That doesn't work. Then you will be tired all the time. You have to go to bed at 8 p.m., maybe 9 p.m., which can feel like a child at school sometimes. I did that in my first job when I was working in hospitals. Like I had to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning sometimes, and then I had to go to bed at 8 p.m. in the evening, which in winter is not that hard because it's dark already. But in summer, when there's life outside and the vibe is going on and you feel like, oh my God, the sun is still up and I am shutting the blinds, shutting the curtains and going to bed. That sometimes really, really felt wrong. And this was because I had to, because my job had to, when I had to go to the morning shift, I had to wake up at that time to be ready to be at work at 6:30. So that was my reason. But now that I'm self-employed and I can take care of my own time, I sometimes feel like, why do I get up this early? I don't have to, and I can sleep and adapt my sleep cycle exactly the way I feel it feels good for me. So that's the one part. If you're drained all day, is it really worth it? And if you're like focused and productive and you get enough sleep and it feels super great, then maybe this is exactly for you and you're at the right point at that time to do that. But it's really like, everyone has to figure this out on themselves, and not everyone can copy everyone else's routine just blindly. And yeah, it can be a kickstart into the day if you do it right. Absolutely. I'm not negating this. And I would say if you want to try it, maybe do it step by step. If your bedtime right now is 11 p.m., for example, don't set your bedtime alarm or don't go to bed, let's say it like this, at 8 p.m. all of a sudden and waking up at 5 because your body will be like jet lag, like what is going on? But if your bedtime regularly at the moment is 11 p.m., set it back 1 hour to 10 p.m. until you're used to that and then go to 9. And so you can work your way there instead of a hard force. That's like really you can adapt and dive into that slowly, and you can still change your mornings depending on what your day looks like to the routine and put these steps in bit by bit until you have the time to fully do that. And with that, the next topic I want to talk about is hustle culture and quitting your day job to be free. Of course, it's great social media content when everyone else is out on a Saturday night partying hard, drinking, and you're sitting in your cozy office and working on your dreams. It's like, yep, that's great content. That's nice. But is this really the day-to-day reality? Is 24/7 sitting like a shrimp in front of your computer really the thing to go? Are you really better than anyone else because you do it that way? Or isn't there another, a smarter way to do that? And I myself, I love being self-employed. I wouldn't want to go back to working for someone else, at least not in the traditional way. And I'm still figuring out how to be an entrepreneur, because being self-employed and being an entrepreneur are really two different skills. And I've mastered. I'm living with the self-employed one right now and figuring out the other on the go. But I wouldn't recommend this path for everyone. It's just not something everybody can and should achieve, because we're all wired so differently. And yeah, it looks cool on the outside. Like you can work wherever, whenever you want to. You can really set up your own schedule. And you can live in another country like I do, for example. I was born and raised in Germany and now I live in Spain. And that's not possible in every job wherever you are. I get that. I totally get that. And it looks so nice from the outside to be your own boss and you don't have anyone to tell you what to do. But that's the downside of it. You have to be your own boss. Just because your day is now free from someone from the outside telling you what to do and when to do it, you have to do that yourself. And the question is, how disciplined are you? Are you really that disciplined to get up and to get things done without someone telling you that you have to do it? And that's the question you should ask yourself before you jump into this. It comes also with a huge amount, really, I underestimated it myself, of paperwork and things you have to do in order to be self-employed and entrepreneur. It's not just that everyone else, like not your boss is not taking care of it like you used to it, and you have maybe some things on the side to take care of yourself, but all the paperwork that comes with it, really every page of it comes to you and you have to take care of it. Of course, you can get some help with a tax person or someone, because I wouldn't recommend doing your taxes on your own in case you didn't learn it, because honestly, I am happy to have help with that. But the rest comes to me. When there's some paperwork coming in, I have to deal with it. I maybe have to ask someone or do something with it, and there's no one coming and taking care of it. And that stuff no one taught us in school. That stuff we really have to learn, sometimes the hard way, by doing and by research and stuff like that. And then there's the part that a lot of people forget, that there's no time, or let's say it differently, vacations and days sick that usually you got paid for. That doesn't exist any longer, not in the traditional way. I mean, it always depends on how you build your self-employment or your entrepreneurship, because there are some things, like if you have a SaaS or something, a software is something that brings on money regularly, it might be easier. But in my case, I work with clients. So on days that I don't work, I usually have a harder time, especially in the time when I got paid by the hour, to take vacations off, because you have to put money aside for the time when you're not working. And depending on the work you do with your clients, for me, it's like the podcast business where there's one podcast episode every week. I have to plan ahead. Like if I want to do, like I did in summer, a 3-week vacation, I have to tell my clients in advance with enough time that I'm off for 3 weeks and that they have to produce their episodes earlier. So I will still have time to do the whole post-production. And then I can go into vacation. So the workload before the vacation is a lot higher, then it drops, and then it's usually higher again because you're back. So you have to consider that it's not as easy to go into vacation and just leave some things aside on your desk when you're self-employed, because you have to take care that everything is really taken care of and well planned. And as I said, there's the good and the bad. There's light and the shadow in this game. But all in all, this kind of freedom, I would say, comes with a price tag. And I love that price tag. I'm fine with that price tag, but you have to be aware that it is there. And there's also what I sometimes see, as I said in the beginning of this blog, this glorification of working 24/7, hustle hard and get there. And this like, look how busy I am and I'm so stressed and that's why I'm so needed and I'm so important. This is what society does in general, not just in self-employment, but if you're working somewhere and you have a lot to do, it must be that you're important. So it's a way the society is directing in this matter where sometimes things that's not the best idea. We're burning out a lot of people with that, but that's a whole different topic. But that's often the point. When we're working and hustling hard and 24/7 and stuff like that, it might lead in a way to a burnout. We just have to think about that, whether we're working for someone else, self-employed, an entrepreneur. It's really important to see which amount of work can I achieve in a day, in a week, in a month, without burning out, especially as a woman, where if we're not on the pill or something, or on birth control in general that works with hormones, our hormones are very interesting throughout a month. So we have these different levels of energy. And if we have the possibility to adapt to that as well, it's amazing. Like when we're really in that phase where our body is full of energy and we can rip out trees with our bare hands, then we feel like we can conquer the world. And then we have these phases. I'm sure we're sitting in the same boat where we're just like, I can't do anything today. Can I go on the couch, read a book, watch Netflix, whatsoever. And one more thing to think about, if you're in this hustle culture, it's like, or if you're self-employed, an entrepreneur, it's like, there's the good part where ideas really can come 24/7. You can lie in bed and something pops up and you're like, oh my God, I have to write this down. And you get on your computer, and that's one of those night shifts you put in, because this just the spark and you need to execute on it. And you can have your work with you all the time. But the bad thing is let's say that you have your work with you 24/7. You cannot just say, yeah, that's someone else's work. I will deal with it tomorrow when I come back to the office. It's like, no, it's in your mind. You have to make a note somewhere to remind yourself that you have to do something or stuff like that. That can be super stressful for some people to really have that. And the messages popping in from time to time. It depends whether you have a second phone for your work or not. In my case, I don't. And I always say you can text me at any time, and I mean it. But sometimes I'm in my weekend and doing nothing, or on a little vacation, or I'm just taking a day off. And then messages pop in, and you have to deal with it that this message is there, and maybe you won't answer it directly, but it's still in your inbox. And for some people, this takes up capacity in their relaxation time, where they're like, I can't get off work. I can never get it out of my head. And this is the reality. And some people love it. I'm okay with it as well, but it's something to know that this is happening. You also have to be fine with the knowledge that your to-do list will be never ending. You can set yourself some goals for the day, like what do you want to do and achieve in this day, but there will always be more to do. There will always be something you could do. You could still do something more. You could still write that post. You could still write that email. You could still do that paperwork, whatsoever. And that's something I had to learn to understand and to be at peace with, and to really put everything in order to know, okay, this is what my day-to-day looks like, and I have something that I could do on top. But if I do this, and that, I'm fine. I'm done. That's good for the day, and we keep the rest for the next day. And let's be real. There's so many different types of people. We're not all the same. Some have this infinite amount of energy. They really can and want to work 24/7, where others are just like, no, not me, like me. I don't want to, and I can't work 24/7. I love my work and I love what I do, but I like my time off. I like taking walks. I like doing sports. And honestly, sometimes I like to binge watch a series on Netflix or wherever. And that's totally fine. And we have to be honest with ourselves, which type of person we are, and set our goals to that. If I would set for myself a goal that's working for someone that has this hustle mentality and really wants, I would be unfulfilled, because I probably will never reach it, because I'm not wired like that. And I don't want to push myself like that, because as I said, I like my mind the way it is and I don't want to burn out. And sometimes it's this in between. Sometimes it comes in waves, and there's phases or seasons where you're just like, I want to work 24/7 on this project, and I go in. And then there's phases where you say like, no, not today. Today I need to do something else, and that's fine as well. So yeah, that's my take on the whole hustle culture thing, where it's glorified to work 24/7. And yeah, you can really achieve something if you go heads down and just get uncomfortable for a while. But face it and be honest with you which type of person you are, and if it is for you. And then be real with it, and then be at peace with it. But don't do it because everyone, we're talking about what got normal, which isn't normal, because everyone tells you that's the only way to go. There's a lot of people that build their businesses as a slow business and really look out for themselves and take care of themselves first and build their business on the side, and they still live great lives. Talking about great lives, then there's the point of this never-ending, always traveling persons out there. And if you open WhatsApp or your Instagram or whatsoever, you will always see at least one person that's currently on vacation, living the best life. And yeah, some people travel more often than others. It really comes to personal preferences, budget, whatever you want to see, all those things. And those are not always the same for everyone, but it seems like you have to travel to not fall behind and to have something to tell as well. And I think that's when it becomes tricky. Or you're falling into this trap of comparison, like, oh, this person I follow online, maybe I don't even know him or her personally, is traveling again. How is she doing it? Why am I not able to do that? I mean, she looks like from the outside, like we would be on the same level. Like, why isn't it possible for me? And that's the thing where when we put travel influencers aside because they get paid for what they do, or like we're not talking about backpackers, like people that just finished school, put their backpack on and work from the hand to the mouth and just live from the hand to the mouth with that. That's not what I'm talking about. But sometimes we compare ourselves so easily without noticing that it doesn't do any good to us. And I checked the numbers. The average person travels once a year outside of their country. I'm living in Spain and I checked for Germany. So let's say Europe, because I know for the US it works maybe a different way because the country is so big. But let's stick to this Europe thing. It's one journey a year where someone is boarding a plane or a train to go to the destination that's further away. So that's reality. That's what we're seeing outside on our screens, whichever big or small they might be, is not reality. Your neighbors probably will be traveling once a year as well. Maybe there's a second journey to visit some family because a lot of families are living in different parts of the country or further away, like I do from my family. And that counts as well because you still have to pay to visit your family. It's not necessarily the typical vacation where you're going to a tropical island, drink some cocktails out of a coconut and living the life. But the other thing is vacation as well. And we should not forget that this is traveling too, because most people have regular jobs and regular lives. And what we don't see from the person that travel is how many jobs maybe did this person work in the past to afford this type of vacation. What we're seeing on TV shows, vlogs, stuff like this, these are the highlights. So we don't know what's going on behind the scene. Or did they maybe find some super good deal and booked it 1.5 years in advance, so they had time to save up and to really take care of everything? Or is it a big trip that they're doing? Or are they doing actually many small trips like over the weekend? And it looks like they're always traveling because they maybe are, but it's always just these tiny little islands in between day-to-day life. And sometimes these trips from other people look so nice on the outside. And I can tell you my last trip was, or one of the last trips, it's actually a while ago, was to Marrakesh with my partner. And from the outside and from the photos and everything, it looked so great. But honestly, it was not our trip. There were so many things that we would have done different looking back at it. And there were some 1 or 2 days, 1.5 for me, that were really like done because we had some food poisoning, which was not fun. And I had to throw up in the desert at some point when we did a day trip, which we didn't cancel, or we didn't think it would be that heavy. And it turned out to be heavier on the journey where really I was suffering we walked up mountains. We ate at a house of our guide. Then we drove by car for hours and I get travel sick as well sometimes. And everything came together. So it looked like on the photos we took, of course I was smiling and of course it looked like, oh my God, they're having such a fun time. But at one time I was sitting we went to the Yves Saint Laurent museum to look at it, and I was sitting somewhere and I felt like I could just cry because I felt so miserable and I just wanted to go home. And that's not what you see in the photos. So we might not forget, no matter how beautiful whatever vacation anyone is doing might look from the outside, it might not feel that way for the person living in this moment. So yeah, if it's not you traveling all the time, it's not just you. And maybe it's just not your time yet. Maybe there will be a time in your life where you change job, where you got a payment raise, or you just make more money in any way and have more time where you can travel. But for now, just be happy for the others and enjoy the pictures and videos you see. And maybe take notes. Maybe someone is going to a destination where you think like, oh my goodness, this looks so beautiful. I want to go there as well. And maybe it's just some small resets that really help as well. Like if you have the possibility, get in your car, drive 1 or 2 hours into a different city where there's a lake, a river. If you can go to the sea, whatsoever, what's nearby, and just do that for a weekend and just get out of your day-to-day life with these small little islands that sometimes make a big difference as well. It doesn't always have to be the big trip where you come home and you're like, oh my God, it's been 3 weeks and now I'm exhausted from a vacation. I don't know. And one thing that comes up oftentimes is make money with your hobbies and you will never have to work again. I think we've all heard this at some point in your life. And what I think is there is a difference between a job and a hobby. Usually it's a job brings in money, and a hobby, you pay for a hobby. You have to invest money to do your hobby. And It's sometimes small amounts, it's big amounts. For example, when I had my phase of running is supposed to be a cheap hobby, but can be expensive as well. You need shoes, you need clothes. If you want to go and take part in races, you have to pay for the races. I flew to a half marathon once where I had to book a trip, like a flight and a hotel. So that's usually a hobby. You pay to do that. And a job is you get paid to do that. So that's the difference I always think. And yes, it is possible to make money with your hobby. And it's not that I say it's a bad thing, but it's not the norm. It's not what you should aim for when you're starting a hobby, like, oh, maybe at some point I can make money of it. No, maybe at some point you can just enjoy doing it. And that's the reason we usually do our hobbies, because we love them, because they relax us. We feel a certain way when we do that. We can detach from our day-to-day life. We can let work aside for a moment. That's the reason why we do hobbies. And it's easy to think, well, I'm doing it anyways, so I might as well make some money of it. It's close to think that way. But if you start doing it like this, it might be, not necessarily, but it's good to have that in mind. It might be that you enjoy it less and less, because the I want to becomes I have to. And with that, there comes, as I said, some paperwork and stuff to do, because the moment you earn money with it, you have to make it official to the wherever you live, and it's a work income. And then you're self-employed. So when you're self-employed already, it's easier because you're already in the process and just put it into a mix. But if you're not, there comes a whole lot of things to consider with that. And so it makes sense to really think twice about it. And if you feel like, yeah, this is really my thing, it's kind of a hobby, but I feel like it could be more, try it out. But not everything is content, as we say in the content creator world. And not everything you do has to be to make an income with it. It's just simple as that. And that's fine. We can have hobbies just to have hobbies. And speaking of hobbies, there's this point where you see this never-ending stack someone has of sports clothes or clothes in general. And do you sometimes feel like you have nothing to wear to go to the gym, for your next run, to the dance class, and you think like, I'm wearing the same thing over and over again? And then you think of the people you see online, and they have such a variety of clothes and so many things they can mix and match and switch and everything. But I want you to think about it differently and ask yourself some questions. How many people where you go and do your sports do you see regularly, and how many of them do you recognize? Like, I've seen this person every week or whatsoever. And then ask yourself, do I really notice what this person is wearing regularly, or is it just the face I recognize, not the t-shirt whatsoever? And honestly, if you would see this person over and over again wearing the same things, what would you think? Probably nothing. And that's the same thing people do when they see you. You feel like, I'm always wearing the same thing. It's so boring and it shouldn't be like this. But let's be honest, we all have real lives, and we don't need a full stacked clothes department for going to the gym. It's like, yeah, we can do that if we really want to, but it's not necessarily. We are not better in the gym if we have more clothes. And those people we follow online or we see in reality TVs, vlogs, whatsoever, usually they do that for a living. So they have to have a variety of sports. Like, if you do sports content for a living, of course you need more clothes. And then they have sponsors. For example, the runners that I followed for a while, they often wear one sports brand. It's because they work with them. They have a deal that they get paid to only wear this certain kind of brand. And of course, they always have the latest collection. They always run in the newest shoes. They always wear different styles from that brand. Yeah, it's their job. It's part of their job to do the sports, and it's part of their job to be seen in a certain brand. Or sometimes it's let's say, a fitness YouTuber. They maybe have cooperations with a brand where they get new clothes from time to time so they can wear them. So the people that follow them for their fitness advice will also ask, what are you wearing? I like that. I did that myself. I saw a runner once and I was really into what she was wearing. So I did my research. And also, of course, if it's your job, you have more variety. If you go to the gym, or let's say most people that go to the gym in the morning don't do their makeup before that. They just put on their gym clothes, go there, do their thing, get into the shower and get ready afterwards. But if you are filming a sports routine, of course you get ready. It's like for this podcast, I usually sometimes sit at home at work with a messy bun, no makeup, and just a loose shirt because I like working and it's comfy. But if I sit here and talk to you and talk with you in front of this camera, of course I get dressed. Of course I get ready because I know this will last. This will stay on the internet and will be seen over time. Whereas where I'm just working and doing my thing and minding my business, no one sees me. So that's the difference between a lay person just doing their sports routine in the gym and a influencer, YouTuber, content creator, trainer, coach that shows their stuff online. They get presentable. It's the normalist. It's the most normal thing for them to do. And the same goes, of course, for fashion channels, for makeup channels, for all those channels or documentations or stuff where people talk about that, where it's their job or they're at least in a hobby niche where it's important to be seen. And honestly, just go out with what you have. I'm pretty sure you're looking cute in it and just enjoy what you have. And with that, we come to the last part, which is the perfect everything, the perfect life, the perfect relationship, the perfect body, the perfect friendship, all those things. And honestly, where to start? Here. Let's say if you open social media, for example, because I think this is especially a social media and YouTube vlog things, reality TV as well, I would include that, is it all looks so perfect from the outside. And we are bombarded with these picture perfect relationships, dinings, barbecues, and whatsoever these people are having and living, and the perfect cuddle routines with their partner. And the house is always polished, and it looks like a catalog shooting is just happening in there. And that's not real life. Because, of course, what I said earlier, no one wants to show the dark sides. Let's not call it dark sides, but the not so pretty sides of life, where you may be arguing with your partner or you're discontent about something and you're just sitting and you're not at peace in this moment and you have to figure things out, or where you're crying because something happened, or you're just annoyed and just feel like, no, this is not my day. This is not the moment. You hold the camera in your face and say like, geez. Yeah, this exists as well, but I think a lot of this content is staged or at least triggered in a way, because sometimes I think in certain situations, why was there a camera involved? This doesn't make sense from the outside. Why, especially in this moment, the camera was casually running. Just saying. And as I said, how many days a year do you have a barbecue where it's looking super nice and you're like hosting and everything is perfect? Or how many times do you have an argument with your partner, or you're just discussing? It doesn't always have to be a fight. You're just discussing and figuring things out and you don't hold your camera up. Or how many days are you maybe bloated or you're not feeling good in your body, and then you get dressed up because you're going somewhere and you feel cute and you feel nice and you take photos of that and post them afterwards. But not all those days where you felt like, today I don't look the way I would like to look. Or how perfect, honestly, does your home look if you're not expecting visitors? For me, it's always like it's clean and you can come in anytime. Please don't do that. I hate that if someone rings the bell. But you could come in at any time and I wouldn't have to be ashamed. But if I know someone's coming in, of course I take care of the little details that maybe just I notice. But I know, okay, it looks nice and it looks presentable and it looks the way I want to be seen, even though it might not be exactly like this day to day. So we have to keep in mind that what we see, especially on our screens, are the highlights of someone else's lives. And how many times is someone that looked so picture perfect from the outside breaking up and you didn't have any clue? Because obviously, as I said, they are not filming the bad times. They are showing the good moments. And how many times is someone talking about mental health, being burned out or had depression for years, where you would think like, I would never have expected this. from the way you present yourself on the internet, which is totally normal. And I get it. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do that, but it's just how we do it. It's like you don't let anyone in on your personal moments if you don't want to. These channels and this exists as well, but it's not the norm. It's not the majority of content you see out there. So don't get yourself fooled. Everyone has their secrets. Everyone has their struggles. Everyone has the good days and the bad days. And the grass looks always greener on the other side, but the grass is actually greener where you water it. And this is what you have in your own hands. All right, let's come to my personal conclusion here. I am brutally honest here. I get triggered by all these points I just talked about. I sometimes fall deep into this comparison trap where I feel like I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not having the perfectest life I could have. And I see all these things outside on the screens and they're looking so nice and shiny that I really, as I said, fall into this comparison trap myself. Anytime, all the time, anytime, it's just happening. And I'm fine with that. And I can see that and I can reflect on that. And there's one thing I usually, not like a religion, but usually try to think of when I'm lying in bed and I'm just by myself and it's dark around me, that I go into a moment of silence and gratefulness. I just say in my head, I'm thankful for this. I'm thankful for that. And that can be small things. That can be big things. That can be things that happen throughout the day. That can be things that are in general, like everything that comes into my mind. Sometimes it's one or two things. Sometimes I can go on for half an hour, I think. Not that long because then I fall asleep. But it's always a variety and I don't make it a certain number to look for, but I just letting it flow and just feel like, okay, I am grateful for what actually is happening in my life right now. Because the more we look at these screens, and it can be a magazine as well. I'm not just bashing on social media, reality TV, vlogs and stuff like that. It's just what we see outside. Sometimes it's the facade of the perfect couple that lives next door, where you also don't know what's going on out there. Or the perfect person you see in the office next door, where you think, oh, their business looks so great from the outside. And you never know what's going on when the door is closed and the person is alone with themselves and doesn't know what to do maybe. So yeah, your normal life might be someone else's dream. Sometimes your normal life might be even the dream of a past version of yourself. Same thing, I often forget. I mean, I live in Spain right now. Sometimes I forget that and I take a walk and realize that over and over again, like, oh my goodness, this is the life I built. This is the life myself, dreamt about years back, and now I'm living it. And now I'm only seeing the struggles because this is my day-to-day life and it's just happening. And I forget that this is what I wished for a few years back, and remind myself that I'm in the situation right now where I will look back to in a few years and think like, oh my goodness, this is where I was there. This was such a great phase in my life. And I didn't even notice it because I was busy with worrying and comparing. And this is the moment, in these moments, where I'm in this grateful practice, where I'm just reminding myself that this is right now and this is good. So don't trust everything you see online. It's just the polished version, the things you are supposed to see. And I'm sure you're probably doing your best, and with that, you're doing great. So with that, thank you for sharing your time with me. Let me know, in which of these traps did you fall yourself? In which of these areas are you comparing yourself a lot or maybe a little? And in which rabbit's holes did you fall and think your life is not as good as it should be? And yeah, let's have an open conversation about that. And maybe if you have someone that's falling into one of these traps or into one of these holes a little too much, send this episode to this person. I think you will have at least one person in mind where at least one of these points really is standing out to you. And you're like, no, you're having such a good time doing this and that, and stop comparing yourself there. With that, I wish you a beautiful week ahead. See you next week. Bye, 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 bye.